No survivors.
When I learned that Torrijos was killed, I was devastated. I was very, very sad. Personally, I admired the man. He was fun, charismatic. I really liked him. And I was also terribly saddened for what it represented, for the symbolism that it deeply struck me that this is what my country does.
General Torrijos is the second Latin American president to die in a plane crash in the last 3 months. Ecuadorian President Jaime Roldos
Now, of course,
died last
some
May.
maintain that these weren't just air crashes. These were political events that were staged. We have no proof. I mean, I don't know this for a moment, but it's not beyond belief that these were not natural acts. There have been lots of political plane crashes in Latin America. In fact, if you're a Latin American politician, take the train.
From the beginning of my tenure as an economic hitman, it bothered my conscience. And I was very torn. Up to that point, I'd lived a good life. I'd traveled first class all the time, but I'd reached a point where I could no longer justify this. I knew what we were doing was absolutely wrong. It was not to the best interests of humanity. It was not to the best interests of the future of the United States. It was totally contrary to those things, and I'd really begun to accept that. As I got deeper into that process, I was bribed and really threatened. If I talked to people, if I let the word get out that I was in the process of exposing what we had done, it became very clear to me that I would pay serious consequences. And at the same time, at one point, I was offered about $500,000 not to write the book. So I succumbed to this combination of bribes and threats. Being back in Ecuador for me is a mixture of feelings. I feel very close to this country in many respects. I know I have to take a lot of responsibility because I was an economic hitman in the 70s, and I did a lot of things which caused problems here, and I feel terrible about that.
Hubo gente que hizo sus carreras políticas sobre los cadáveres de mi padre. Se barrían los cadáveres debajo de la alfombra por la gobernabilidad. Y hemos llegado a un país que es ingobernable en los últimos años.
The fact that we took Roldos out served an incredible notice on any future presidents of Ecuador. So when the economic hitmen go in and say, here's a couple of $100 million for you and your family, or if you don't take that, here's a bullet. the temptation is to say, well, look, you know, I'll go along with it because maybe I can do something good, and in the meantime I'll get rich, and my family will get rich, and nobody's going to do any better than me.
Más del 50%. Más del 50% del presupuesto se orientaba al pago de la deuda externa. Durante todo ese periodo fue una espada de Damocles. Fue el chantaje continuo con el que los organismos impusieron las políticas, organismos internacionales, me refiero al Fondo Monetario, el Banco Mundial, impusieron políticas muy antipopulares. La dolarización fue un gran atraco, fue un gran robo nacional.
Primeramente, quiero decirles que agradezco la oportunidad de estar aquí hablando con ustedes, con todos ustedes. Vengo con el mayor de los respetos por el liderazgo que el Ecuador está teniendo en el proceso democrático.
¡Abajo yo, agente de la CIA! ¡Viva John Bell, próximo presidente de Gringolandia! La noche de los gringos.
Compañeros, les pido silencio.
Desde la Segunda Guerra Mundial, los sicarios económicos han creado un imperio global.
There's a big, wide, wonderful world of new forms, newly proportioned for you forms, so beautiful, wonderful, beautiful, wonderful, beautiful, wonderful, new world of forms.
I have asked Robert McNamara to assume the responsibilities of Secretary of Defense, and I'm glad and happy to say that he has accepted this responsibility. Mr. McNamara leaves the presidency of the Ford Company at great personal sacrifice.
What do you believe that will cost you? More than I like to say. There will be profits foregone of approximately $3 million during the next 3 to 4 years.
Robert McNamara was a very, very significant player in all of this. And of course, in a way, he represents the corporatocracy because the corporate